suffered Achilles, which is an issue in itself in the league that Adam Silver did discuss, including Tyrese Halliburton at the worst time, Game 7, Jason Tatum, and of course, Damian Lillard. So with all these injuries in the conference, are the Knicks or Cavs under more pressure to make the finals next season? You want to take it?
I'll take it. And to me, it's obvious. It's the Knicks. Yes, the Cavaliers won 64 games. Yes, the Cavaliers lost in the second round of the playoffs, but no disrespect to our guy, Brian Windhorst. They also play in Cleveland, right? They have a young team. They just hired a new coach, Kenny Atkinson. They are moving forward. The New York Knicks play here in Manhattan, as you know, Molly.
Yeah.
They have fired their coach after making their first conference finals in 25 years. There's a guy who sits here a lot, who certainly has a lot of faith in the Knicks going forward. And this is a veteran team that traded for Karl-Anthony Towns, that traded for Mikal Bridges to believe they could take steps forward. They have the season they had last year. They lose the way they did to the Pacers, where they blow game 1 of that series at home on the crazy Tyrese Halliburton shot. They lose that series. They fire their coach, which to me, when you fire a coach in the conference after making the conference finals, there's only one thing that's acceptable, which is making the NBA finals and or winning a championship. And as you just said before, no Tyrese Halliburton, no Damian Lillard, no Jason Tatum next year. The Eastern Conference is totally wide open. The Knicks have not won a title in 50 years. They are a team that's not made the NBA Finals since 1999. This is their opportunity right now. If they go get a couple pieces to add around their guys this summer, if they do eventually hire a coach, which I suspect they'll eventually hire a coach.
Process of elimination at this point.
They have to eventually get somebody. This is the Knicks' year. They have to take advantage of this opportunity. They're probably never going to have a better chance than they do right now with this group to win next season. And if they don't, you have to really start to wonder if they're going to be able to, because the East is completely wide open for them.
MacMahon, do you agree it's teed up for the Knicks?
I see what Bontemps is saying, and certainly there's a different sort of pressure when you're in New York. As Rick Carlisle once said, the cesspool that is New York media, speaking so eloquently about our Big Apple brethren. But come on, the 64-win Cavaliers are pretenders right now. They have to be labeled as pretenders when you are eliminated in the second round with the ease that they were. So there's definitely some pressure that comes along with that. You know, they've got this core 4 that, and credit to them, they raised the expectations in Cleveland by rolling to those 64 wins this regular season. But there is pressure that comes along with that, especially when the playoffs were such a disappointment for Cleveland.
Keith, more pressure to make the finals, Knicks or Cavs?
I would piggyback what Tim said. I'm definitely saying the Knicks, right, because of the success they had this year. You bring back those core guys. You were one game of them going to the finals. You bring back that core team, and you're looking at, to repeat the same success that you had, right? Obviously, it's based off of what coach you bring. And I'm not really on the side of like what's taking so long. I'm just on the side of why so many coaches. Why are you? It's supposed to be a collective, about 3-4, especially when you already knew you were going to fire Tibbs. It's supposed to be about 3 coaches, and you choose from those. The disappointing part is that your interview 10 to 12 coaches, like that's not going to get it done, right? You have to bring in the right guy to be able to lead this team because you have the core guys that you need. You don't really have to go out and do much. Maybe get some bench players that's actually going to play this year, and after that, you put yourself in prime position.
Maybe I'm naive.
I was going to say, you look like you're in pain listening to Markieff talk.
No, and obviously we're here in New York. I just find it hard to believe that the Knicks would get rid of a guy like Tibbs and not have any plan at all whatsoever, but that's what it appears to be.
Yeah.
When they reached out for a few different guys, got denied, Ime Udoka being one of them, obviously, and a bunch of them got extensions after
Jason
the fact.
Kidd, Billy Donovan.
Did them a lot of favors
Yep.
in that sense. Have you ever seen a coaching search more mishandled?
I don't know if I'd quite go that far yet because we have to see where it lands. To Markie's point, look, if the Knicks hire a coach in September and they go on to make the finals, then they handle it right? So some of this is the results over the process. But to your point, the Knicks fire Tom Thibodeau coming off of the best season they've had in 25 years, coming off the best 3-year stretch they've had in 25 years, a guy who is perfectly in sync with Jalen Brunson, their star player. Jalen Brunson, their star player, who was asked after Game 6 of the conference finals when they lost, do you think Tom Thibodeau is the right coach of the team? And he was incredulous that the question was even being asked, right? Then 2 days later, Tom Thibodeau is fired. And to your point, if you're at this point and you're the Knicks and you fire your coach, you would think you would know what you want to do in terms of replacing him. And here we are, several weeks later, the Knicks still don't have a coach. We're not sure exactly when they're going to have a coach. And to your point, it seemed like they wanted to get one of these guys that was available. Maybe they thought they could get one of them and they couldn't. And now we're kind of sitting here waiting to see what the next shoe to drop is going to be. So, yeah, like, I don't think you should feel especially great about the process so far. Now, if the result works out later, it's one thing. But, yeah, the Knicks, when you fire Tom Thibodeau with the success he had, you'd say, all right, we know what we want to do. We're going to go get it. Right now, it doesn't seem like they know what they want.
MacMahon, I can't believe I'm asking this, and maybe it's a New York bias, but is the New York's head coaching job still a desirable one?
Well, you know what coaches really want? They want talent and they want money, and not necessarily in that order, by the way. And the Knicks have a lot of both. Look, would Jason Kidd have been interested in discussing the job with the Knicks? Yeah, absolutely. But guess what? You don't always just get what you want. And the Mavericks, why would the Mavericks give him permission to do that? And Nico Harrison was asked about it again last night, and he's like, no, Jason Kidd's going to be our coach this season. So if you're going to run off the most successful coach the franchise has had since Pat Riley, you probably ought to have a plan better than, hey, maybe one of these teams that really likes their coach will just let us poach them.
This is a really desirable job. This is a job I think just about any coach would want to have. It's sort of the fascinating situation the Knicks are in.
I got to pause you on one thing. The reason I said that is sometimes people are critical of ownership.
Yes. Well, no, and that's fair. And look, you could say ownership certainly had an involvement in whether they were going to keep Tom Thibodeau or not.
Yeah.
If Joe Stolen wanted Tom Thibodeau to be the coach, he'd be the coach, right? But the thing that's fascinating about this is a great job. Like Tim said, the Knicks pay really well. They have a ton of talent. Their East is wide open. The problem is usually every year there's a guy that's sitting there saying, oh, there's a championship-level coach out there to go get. That guy isn't sitting there. So the Knicks move on from Tom Thibodeau. They try to get Billy Donovan and Jason Kidd, these other guys. They're not there. Now you're going, all right, what are the Knicks going to do? That's where we're sitting now.
Keith, could the head coach be a tipping point for them? Like, how much of a difference maker is it that they get this right?
I mean, you coming from a coach that the players like so you have to get this right. It can't be a guy that's coming in is just like, we're going to do it my way and that's the way, right? Because they kind of was with that with Tom Thibodeau already. So they're looking for a guy that can connect with the players, that doesn't have to do much, right? This is a player-driven team. You just need a guy that just lead these guys in the right direction. They have everything that you need.
For us as an organization, going into that second apron is not necessarily something that we're scared of. I think that there are rules around it that we needed to be very careful of with our injury history. The wrong person gets injured and very quickly you're into a scenario where that I never want to have to contemplate, and that's trade number 15. And so, we're very conscious of that pushing forward.
You guys have obviously been around Nikola. You probably, I would expect, be looking to offer him an extension over the course of this summer. Do you expect to be offering that, and do you expect him to accept it?
We're definitely going to offer it. I'm not sure if he's going to accept it or not, because we're also going to explain every financial parameter around him signing now versus signing later. Be completely transparent. That's the way we always are. And then he makes the best decision for himself and his family, and we'll support him in it.
MacMahon, coming to you on this, do you feel like the Nuggets have failed Jokic since winning the title?
Of course they have. Why else would they have fired their general manager and head coach with, whatever it was, like a few games left in the regular season? So that was an admission that they had failed. That was an admission that the direction of the franchise was going the wrong way. They had to get things turned around. Now, they've got some work to do, but they were the team that pushed the Thunder to 7 games in the Western Conference playoffs. They were the biggest challenger to the Thunder. But yeah, when you have a talent like Nikola Jokic, a historically dominant player like Joker, if he wins a title in his career, then it's only one championship. Like Dirk Nowitzki won only one championship in Dallas. That is not squeezing the most out of that level of Hall of Fame talent.
Keith?
I wouldn't necessarily say fell, right? Because they've had good seasons. 57 and 25 one year. They lost to a good Minnesota team in Game 7. And like Tim just said, you went to the second round last year and lost to the eventual NBA champions in Game 7, right? So I wouldn't say fell. You had to move some pieces around. But the pieces that you move around, the guys that stepped in those positions, they grew. It wasn't like that they just lost those pieces and nobody was able to step in. If Aaron Gordon isn't hurt and has a hamstring injury, that game might go different. So you never know. I wouldn't say failed them because they always had successful regular seasons and went to game 7. You know, the ball can fall either way, and you had a big injury. They did a great job of keeping their core pieces together. So I necessarily wouldn't say failed. It just fell a little short.
Couple things. This is a reminder of how thin the margins are in the NBA. The Denver Nuggets blew a 20-point lead to the Minnesota Timberwolves 2 years ago in Game 7 of the second round at home. If they win that game, they were the team the Celtics always were afraid of last year. I think they repeat as champions. Instead, they lose in the second round. You come back this year, as Keith said, Aaron Gordon gets hurt. You push the Thunder all the way as far as they can go. They're up 8 in the fourth quarter of Game 4 at home. They win that game. I think they go on to win the championship. They do not. The Thunder beat them. The Thunder go on to win the title. So I don't know if I would say they failed because of that, but they did not get to what their objective was, right? Which, again, to Tim's point, Calvin Booth gets fired at the end of the regular season. Michael Malone gets fired at the end of the regular season. Calvin Booth said after they won the first title, they could win 3 or 4 with this group. Well, they haven't got back to the conference finals since. So that is a failure. That is why they have a new coach and front office. Also, I feel bad a little bit for Josh Kroenke. We in the media always want people to be honest. Those are 2 honest answers, right? I think very direct and fair answers. Like, hey, we're going to talk to Nikola Jokic about all the financial questions that come with this extension. Hey, if we have some devastating injury like what happened with Boston, we have to examine our future. Then it turns into, oh man, the Nuggets, are they going to think about trading Nikola Jokic? Why are they saying this? I mean, look, the bigger question I have for Josh Kroenke and Denver is this is a team that is consistently not paid up to the level required, and with the money that they have at their disposal, the Kroenkes have as much money as any ownership group in the league. This is a team that has lacked in depth, that has lacked in, spending on front office talent in the past. They now have a co-GM situation, which is an interesting setup. It's not a traditional one in the league. So to me, it's about going forward. What are the Denver Nuggets going to do to continue to put Nikola Jokic in positions where he does have chances to win a championship? Because this is the guy who's the best player on the planet. He should be fighting for championships, not repeatedly losing in the second round of the playoffs like he has the last couple of years.
Big man, before I come to you, I just had to push back on one thing you said. I'm
Sure.
100% with you in terms of we asked for honesty and transparency and then we crucified him. But in that same breath, you just said it, best player on the planet. Like, you cannot say that publicly about your best player that you'd consider trading him.